Okay, so what I do is I will go into my thumbnail page, and then I will just go panel by panel. So I'll select it, copy it, and then this is just like the last pencils file that I worked on for the last strip. So I will keep everything the same so I don't have to recreate everything except for the new thumbnails, or the new panels. This is my pencils page, so I'll just paste something. I'll paste the panel that I copied, and it creates a new layer in Photoshop. So I just resize it to roughly the size of the panel, because I'm going to basically pencil over these, so I don't need to really like keep them nice or anything. I just getting them in there. So I'm just going to roughly drag this in. God, Dad's got the live coaching. Alright. Mom gets it? What I'm doing? Okay. So I do the thumbnails in my sketchbook. It's like a 5.5 by 8.5 sketchbook. And I just make a little grid, try to make them really basic. I don't even do copy yet. I kind of know what it's going to say in my head, but I don't really have it fully written out yet. So I just indicate where I'm going to put the text, because I don't do word balloons. So I just kind of, I write the text in on top of the artwork, so I try not to cover up anything, or like try not to put too much stuff in one panel. I don't know. I don't like word balloons that much. I think that they kind of like pull you. They seem like they kind of pull you out of the scene or something. But I mean, it makes sense if you're doing like a graphic novel. You'll probably need them if there's like a lot of background stuff. But I don't know. I don't like to do it with Guten Tag. I just kind of like to do, put the text like it's floating. Kind of like, I don't know who else does that in the comic strips. So I'm going to do like the last panel here is going to be 2 panels wide. Yeah, so I'll do that. I did another one because I wasn't sure, but I think I'm going to do it like that, because it's going to be like this big, whoops, what happened? That's not what I wanted. Nope. It's going to be like a big image, so I wanted it to be the width of 2 panels. Okay. Yep. So once I've got this in, it created a separate layer for each one, which I'll just take care of. And what I do, that's my old one, I just grab all of those layers and I just merge it into one. Where's that merge layers? It makes one layer. So that's my thumbnail. And I know this might be like kind of confusing, but okay, I don't know what you mean by that. It's a good painting. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is resave this as my new one. So pencils. Oops, got my earphones are coming out. I actually am not watching the thumbnail of me, like the video of me doing this, so I don't know what I look like. Sorry for the weird faces. Sometimes I make weird faces when I draw. Okay. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, some people that make webcomics, they use the balloons. I just don't like to, but because sometimes you have to cover things up. Like if I think I did it with last year. I think I did word balloons for Guten Tag when I was doing like the graphic. I was doing like the comic page size ones, but it sometimes you like end up covering up artwork. So I don't know. Okay, so what I do now is I've got this layer, and what I'll do is I will, yeah, so this is like the last strip. That was the pencils right there, my final pencils. I'll just hide it for now, and this one I'm going to make into, I'm actually going to rework it. So what I'll do is I could do this, I could go, yeah, and I'll set this opacity down. Yeah. And that way I'll just draw over it on this layer. So let me save it. And grab my color for that. Alright. And let me grab my pencil. There we go, animated pencil. I want like complete flow in this. Okay, yeah, so this is weird. I don't know the right angle to have my tablet on the screen, but let's see. Okay, so I think I want to take the opacity of this down further, just so I can barely see it. Yeah, okay. So I'm on my new layer, and I am, or make no faces or don't push my glasses up all the time. So I'm going to just kind of pencil over. And this is the pencils again, so I'm not like, I don't have to be super precise, but just to get the right composition. That's the goal of this stage. This is kind of like a close-up panel. Yeah, so there's an illustrator, his name is Kyle Webster, and he makes a bunch of cool brushes for Photoshop. So he'll make ink brushes and also paint, pastel, watercolor, different things. And his goal is to make them look like realistic. So he actually makes some really good ones that when you use them, like your stuff looks like it's traditional artwork. So every once in a while I have like free stuff, and I think I've just downloaded like, or you can download it for free and then send a tip if you want to. I don't know, some things are free, some things aren't free. So I've got a couple of his that are like just the free ones. There's like an animator's pencil, there's some ink brushes, there's some paint brushes that I'll use. Yeah. Okay, so actually, and then another thing cool, this is Photoshop, right? So I'm just doing the pencils. I don't really care what everything looks like because I'm just going to ink it later. I can select stuff if I need to and just move it around. If I thought it was too close, you know, I could just move this further away from him and then just come in here and tighten that up. Okay, so that's panel 1. Photoshop is pretty quick for this. I know like other people use this other program called Clip Studio, and so some of the guys that like I've been following their stuff that do comics, they use what's called Clip Studio, which is a Japanese program, kind of for like Japanese comics, manga, and it lets you kind of like create the comic pages and stuff a lot easier than Photoshop does. And their brushes for like penciling and inking are a lot better too. They've like, see how I'm kind of like doing a lot of this back and forth, like if I mess it up I'll undo it. They have a lot more tighter control over it. It feels like you're actually like drawing better. So, but I just found that like I'm more used to using Photoshop for this kind of stuff, so I don't have to think about it as much. But the cool thing about Clip Studio is they have a lot of like good stuff for coloring and painting. So I actually do my flats in probably, but I can probably use 2 screens. It's just like I guess what I could do here is I like to be able to like look at what I'm drawing or working on, and then I could do that. That's fine. Yeah, that'll work. Granny P messaged me. How do I go into... How do I go right into... Oh, yeah, there we go. I'm using a pen. I'm using the Wacom, or Wacom, how you pronounce it. This is the one you got me years ago, so I'm still using it. It still works. I don't use like the eraser part of it. I just use so I'm using this, and then with my other hand I'm using the shortcuts on the keyboard, like for the eraser tool, and then for pencil and brushing and stuff. Okay, that'll work. Yeah. All right, back to what I was doing. So, oops, what happened? Yeah, the tool that everyone usually uses for comics is called a Cintiq, Wacom Cintiq, and it's more of like a screen that you actually draw on. And explain the glove. So the glove, when I've got the tablet, what is this, plastic or some type of plastic surface, and just over and over, like dragging my hand across this thing, over and over and over again, it starts to chafe your hand. And the same thing when you're drawing on paper, it can chafe your hand. Just for me, like my hand gets dry. So the glove just protects your hand from that. Keeps it from, getting raw or whatever, feeling raw. Lets you draw a little bit longer. It's pretty cheap. I got it on Amazon for like $5 or $7 or something. Oops. Sorry, I'm whistling. But yeah, like there's this thing called the Wacom Cintiq, and that's what a lot of artists will use. It's a tablet that you can draw on, so you're not using like a tablet and a computer. You're using one screen, and you're like actually, it's like if I was drawing on the laptop screen. That's how close. That's how real, I guess, how real it's supposed to get. But they are kind of expensive, the new ones. You can buy them used, refurbished, whatever. But they're like, the ones that are like what people usually use are about $800 or more. Okay. So the one dude, Michael Regina, that I was, actually I don't even need to use headphones. I don't know why I got these on. So I will just take those off because those are driving me crazy. But my friend Michael that was doing the Adamsville book, he was selling his Wacom tablet, but I don't know if I want to use one right now. I don't know if it's better to use like the Apple or the iPad Pro, and then use that kind of like the same thing, you know, because the screen, it's a tablet that I'm drawing on. It might be easier. Oh, another thing I'll do too is if I am if I just want to save time and not like redo the whole scene. I really don't. I really don't care because I'm just doing pencils. I'm not like I'll just duplicate it and drag it down here, just so I get like the roughly the same composition, you know. But you see, I have to like kind of pull out a little bit here. Oops. I'll have to zoom out for this panel just because I have Rector in there. So I'll have to shrink this down a little bit. Okay. What's he doing? Oh, he's stirring it. That's what he's doing. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not really, don't really try to get too final at this point. I'm just trying to get all the stuff in there that I need to include. Man, the computer's kind of like, might be too much for it. I think what I can do is in Patreon I can send out a post that says when I'm planning on doing the live stream, and then I think that so if it's like the day before, I think what I'll do is I'll probably send out the that's fine. I'll probably send out like a post saying, you know, I'm gonna put the I'm gonna do a live stream tomorrow, and then I can't put the link in there yet because I haven't started the stream, so I think I'll just do, and then once it's live, I think I can probably send a message out to everybody in that $10 or more tier, and then in that message I can include the link to it. And I think people can probably jump in from there. I don't know if that's how they do it. You know, like I don't know if that's how other people do it, but that's what I was planning on doing. Yeah, keep asking questions. That's good. That's like, hopefully that's what people will do when I'm doing this. Does Mom have any questions? I believe so. I think you can archive it. I don't know if I'll do this one just because it's the first one and I have no idea what I was doing, and I'm like doing all weird, you know, looking all over the place and messing everything up. But I could always make it private. I don't know. It looks weird in that one. Oh yeah, yeah. I think that's what people do. You can definitely archive it in YouTube. I don't know if I have like any restrictions on my account because I don't. There's some things like you can't do until you're at a certain. Maybe I can, like a certain amount of views or something. I don't know if there's any restrictions on archiving. So for this panel, I know I'm going to have some steam coming out of the pot, which always, I don't know. I try not to make Guten Tag too complex as far as like coloring, but whenever I draw steam, I like to like do a color fill and then make it transparent so you can kind of see the color behind it. So that takes a little bit longer to do, especially if I don't have like all the lines around the artwork. So what I'll do is like I'll probably ink. So I'm drawing the steam, the shape of the steam. I'll probably ink that, and then when I go to color it, I'll probably erase some of it and just like fill in behind it. So I don't know if I like how I. It's just the way I've kind of done this. But the goal when I do what's called flatting, the goal is to like do as little work as possible, I guess. For Guten Tag, since I'm not like coloring it, really record your live stream and post it again. Yeah, I can do that. I could, yeah, I think that's what people do, Dad. So for example, like the one dude, Jason Brubaker, I've been following on YouTube and on Webtoon. He's got a comic called Sithra. He'll do that. He'll have his like live chats, and they're kind of like work sessions where he invites people to come and like while he's doing work, they're working on stuff and they're just kind of chatting, they're friends, and then he'll do it and then he'll post it on YouTube like a couple days later. So he'll do it on like a Wednesday and then post it on I don't know, like a Friday or something. I'm not sure. But I watched one of those today because it was he had the guy that did the Amulet books, the one that I worked on like 10 years ago a little bit. And then he had Michael Regina and then Doug TenNapel. You remember the guy that created Earthworm Jim and does all the graphic novels. So he was on there too, and they're on Google Hangouts, and that way you can limit the number of people. I think it's like 10 people, and they all have access. You all have access to your webcams and audio at the same time, but you're not really sharing your screen. You're just kind of like sharing your webcam. Oops. And then he just records it and then he puts it on YouTube and the Patreon page afterward. This is kind of like the stone surface. Yep. What's he making there? It looks like chili or something. Okay. Okay. A star. Not quite. Yeah, so here's a good example. Like, I know I'm going to have to squish Rector in here, and I don't want to do that because it'll look weird, right? So I am... Brandon just asked me. I am going to move everything over to the left. And then that'll give me some room. Because I don't really need to... I'm just going to have this text up here, so I don't need to, like, move them out of the way. And that way I can fit Rector in there. It won't be squished in the panel. What were you going to say? Sorry, keep typing. I don't want to... You have to be like Rush Limbaugh. Do my own like product promotions and get sponsors for the show too. I could be like, all right, guys, gotta take a break and tell you about My Pillow. Tell you about LifeLock or whatever the other products people use as sponsors. No, Brandon. So I sent out like I made a message, or I drafted a message to tell people about Patreon, and just basically just kind of asking for support. I mean, like you said, like asking for support. And I sent that out to a lot of people, but I just kind of filled in their names. So, I had like a generic message, and well, not generic, but, the same thing basically. And I just replaced the name. So just, it's someone I know, then yeah, hey Dave, rather than David last name, just, hey, what's up? And then send it to him. So I sent it to Brandon too, and he asked if it was like a, okay. He asked if the message I sent was, what did he say? Is it a stock message, or did you write this for me? So I'm not going to answer him yet. But yeah, basically I wrote it for everybody, but it just let me send it out faster than just doing every person. I don't know. There's really no point in like writing the same thing over and over and over again, right? Like, can you do that? So I just replaced the name, but Brandon's not joining. He just messaged me because he saw my message that I sent him. Yeah, so when I color this, okay, so I'm not going to do the flatting tonight because I got to try to get done by 12, but I don't know, when did we start? Maybe we've been going for an hour, I don't know. But I'm not going to do the flatting. Yeah. But the way I color Guten Tag, there is not a lot of final coloring. It's flat color to begin with, or it's flat. It ends up being kind of flat color anyways. So the flat coloring is essentially pretty close to the final coloring. The only thing that I do is like I will sometimes I will do like effects. So if I'm drawing steam from like a coffee mug or a pot or something, then I'll go in there to the actual line work, and I'll select it, and then I'll color it with like a gray or a dark beige or something that's a little bit darker than the actual color that I'm filling the steam with. So it looks like it's a little bit separate. It's not as like heavy, That's the only thing I really do. And then like special effects, like if it's a word or something like a sound effect or whatever, I'll color those separately a little bit. But I have to think, like, when I ink these, I have to think ahead, and kind of it helps if my lines are all connected, because then when I go in to do the flatting, I can just kind of like select and go in there and click on each area and fill it in. I don't have to like draw selection areas and color it in. It just saves me time. I can always go in there and like edit things and tweak things, but it just saves me a little bit of time. You guys enjoying this? It's kind of weird not hearing anybody respond to you audibly. No dead air. Dad, are you guys still there? Your Patreon. I know.
Hi, Mom and Dad.
Now they can hear you.
They can hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, hi.
That is Kate. You guys, what happened, Dad?
Tell them what up until 10 or what's up last night.
Oh my goodness. So
Until 4?
yeah, Cora kept waking up, and I think she was up till like 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 or 4 o'clock. It's pretty rough. So we went to bed or slept pretty. Hi, Mom. What happened to Facebook? Why isn't it? Oh, that's somebody else. That's because your message. Yeah, so we were up kind of late. Okay. We were up late. We went to bed till late, and we got up late this morning. So I got up late this morning, but it was good. It was productive. Yeah, I mean she's okay. She's just just not sleeping.
She was trolling us last night.
She'll pretend that she's
She was laughing.
Like she'll be crying, and we'll go over there to check on her, and then she'll kind of like laugh at us, and like she's kind of like kidding, like, "Ha, I got you." So, but it was, I don't know, it was okay. Yep, today got some cleaning done. That's pretty much all I did today. Just clean the house a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. I hope she sleeps better too.
Yeah, actually she's crying.
She's crying right now. All right, so at this moment, I want to thank my Patreon supporters. Steve Hoffman and Zach Townsend. Yeah, if I forget something, I'll just go back to a different panel. So basically, this is kind of like a continuation of earlier strips where he was trying to grow a beard. So I forgot to keep like drawing the beard in here. So I'm like, I should probably add that in. It's got some stubble going. Oh, I did. I got that one. That looks too much now. There's too much going there. He's got to have like bald spots a little bit. What did you say? I didn't see it. Color something? No, I can't do the coloring process yet. I know you want me to see it. I can do I can finish this and color like an older one so you can see what I do. But I want to finish this, finish these pencils right now. So what I do is I do the pencils, and then I will print them out on paper, ink it with an actual pen on paper, scan it back in, and then I'll color it digitally. But once I get this finished penciled, then I'll try coloring something really quick so you can see it. Oh yeah, I made these. Okay, so the grid I made for myself for these comic strips was to help me speed things up. So I don't have to do the same thing over and over again. I just plop my pencils in there, and it's the same 2x2 grid. The reason why I did it is so that I can post it on social media, on Facebook and Tumblr and Instagram or whatever. Instagram not so much, but and I can post it as like one image. And I did it 2x2 so that you could see like the page. So you can see the page all at once. And what I used to do is I used to do like 3 or 4 panels, right? And then sometimes I might have a combined panel where I've got like, it's twice the length. So it's not a problem when I do it. I print the pencils out. So once I finish this, I'll actually print it out on cardstock for my printer. And it's like this color, the orange color. So what I did for the grid is I made like little rectangles for each panel. There we go. So if I turn that off, so I'll have to make another little rectangle here. How do I do that? So I wanted to make a combined panel. So what I'll do is I will grab, where do I go to do this? Yeah, rectangle tool. Cool. I think I can edit this, right? Nope. Yep. Nope. Photoshop is a little bit different than Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, and other programs I'm used to making. It's not always as editable as those other ones. So if you make something, I might have to go back and like undo what I did. Like this is not helping me. I'm just gonna stop it. Stop it. There we go. Messed that up. Okay, so this is going to be my new frame. I'm going to make a double panel. What just happened there? There we go. Switch those around. Okay. Rectangle 3. It's okay. Cora.
Go back to sleep.
Go to sleep. Sleepyhead.
You should have like a baby break.
You
should have a baby break.
Yeah.
But not now. It's okay.
What happened to this one? Why did this go away? What happened to my panel? Oh, I know what happened to it. That's weird. Oh. Boy. I don't want you 1 pixel. I want to be. I don't know what I made it. Then what? Oh, I print the pencil. I thought, okay. I print the pencil layer out on, or the whole pencils. I print them out on 2 pieces of cardstock. And so this is, my layout's kind of like set up for, that's way too thick. All right. It is set up for 2 pages of 8.5 by 11. So I can easily print the, here I'll zoom out so you can see. So here's, 1 piece of paper right here, and then here's the second one. And then when I print it out, I just print one on one piece and the other half on the other piece. And then when I ink it, I'll do that traditionally with like a brush pen. And if I mess anything up, then I'll fix it when I go and scan it, and when I go and like bring it back into Photoshop. So I take that inked pages and I scan them back into my computer, and then I would go in and tweak everything in Photoshop after that. So, baby, hi.
You want a baby break?
No, I need to finish this. It's almost 12. Why do I print it? The pencils? I print them out so that I can ink it by hand with an actual brush. I know it, like, part of the reason why, so I'm kind of doing this like a mix of traditional and digital. Some people do everything. Well, hardly anybody like colors anything traditional anymore. Traditionally, but people will, for the most, if they do it digitally, what they'll do is like they might do everything digitally. So they'll probably do like they'll do the oops, they'll do what I'm doing, like the pencil layer. They'll do that digitally. They will do the inks digitally, and then they'll color it and everything, so that they just have like one. They just have like one process, and it's a lot faster and saves them time. Um, Theoretically, I guess it would like be a lot easier because you can always go in there, and if you felt like you messed up, the lines, you can just go in there and erase it, and then just keep inking over it. And you don't like once you do it on paper, it's there, like it's done. I mean, yeah, you can use whiteout, you could use something to try to go over the lines that you did, but for the most part, when you do it by hand, it's permanent. So I think the reason, yeah, you save time by doing it digitally, and I know that's kind of like, why am I not doing it all like that? So the reason why I don't do it, and the reason why I do it by hand is I want to um, I want to do it by hand because it kind of keeps me connected to that. It keeps me like um, it helps me kind of like keep up on that skill, I guess. And because when you do it by hand, you've got to do it like perfectly. That's what I like about doing ink. Like ink drawings is like that's it. If you have a pencil drawing, you can kind of erase it and everything. But if it's ink, you're done. So it makes it like more of a challenge, I guess. And it's cool. It's like makes you feel like you're doing something that people used to do. I also do it because thinking long term, I want to have something. I actually want to have the physical artifact of what I did. So like if unfortunately, if I did it all digitally and unfortunately maybe I like messed up my computer, lost my files, didn't back it up, didn't save it to anything, then I've lost all of that work. If I have the actual inked pages and I do all that stuff and I do it digitally and I accidentally erase everything, then I've always got the inked pages to go back to and I can work from that. And yeah, I guess I could like spill a glass of water on them or like spill coffee on it or something, but it just kind of gives me something to actually here's the actual like artifact of what I made. And that gives me the option to sell that to people or to keep it or to hold on to it or whatever. So I just like to keep them around. My goal is to, I mean, I would like to sell, if people want them, I would like to, I think I'm gonna offer that as one of the Patreon tiers is like, you can win some signed artwork, and then you can win like the actual pages that I finished from the pages. Not everybody that does comics today do it digitally, and I think it's probably for the same reasons that I just shared. And I don't know everyone, of course, but just from what I've watched people do, I know this guy, Jason Brewbreaker, that's doing. Well, I've been watching him do a comic called Sithra, and he will. I think he does the same thing. I think he like, and that's probably where I got it. I got it from. I got it from him and like this other guy, Jake Parker. They do the pencils digital, and then you print it out, and then you ink over it, and then it just gives you the option to like hang on to it or sell it or do something else with it. So it might just be one of those things where it's like you just don't want to give up, completely doing something traditional. Other people do just do it digitally. So like one of the guys that they talk to, or like that does comics, he does it all in the computer, and it saves him time. I think also because he's publishing his stuff on this app called Webtoon, which is it's a South Korean web comic app, and the way that they publish web comics is you publish like an episode at a time. So it's like it could be several pages that people are publishing of their manga or their comic book or whatever, and you can read, like, it's a scrolling vertical format, and you can read multiple pages at one time, and it usually the schedule is like weekly, and it's like the amount of work that you have to do to be able to release 5 to 7 pages or however many each week. It's crazy. So it's like that's why people that do that, they'll generally just do it all digitally because it just saves them a ton of time. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not there yet. I know with like Guten Tag, it would probably work better that way if I just did everything digitally. But I don't know. I like to do it by hand right now. We'll see. That could change. I don't know. This might be a little confusing, this image here. But stuff is coming out of his face. It's like flowers and stuff. Whee. Oh, baby, go to sleep. Oh, tulips. Oh, she's faking us.
She's talking to us.
Oh, she's talking to her toys. Cora's talking to her. She's in her little playpen. She's talking to the animals and stuff. There's like elephants printed on the side of the playpen. She'll look at them and talk to them. So after you ink it, do you scan it back in? Yes, I do. Correct. So what I do is I finish the inks, and then I've got the 2 pieces of paper, and I take my handy dandy printer. Not Epson, it's a Brother printer, and I can scan 2 8.5 sheets at the same time, so a total 11 by 17 surface area at the same time. And the scanner, truthfully, on this printer is not the greatest, so it's not the highest resolution. I don't know if you can hear the baby. Yeah, that's okay. It's not the highest resolution. And if you have a lot of colors, it won't always pick up a lot of the color. And I'm sure there's probably a way to fix that. Hi. There's probably some stuff I can do to tweak it and to make it optimized, but for now I'm just kind of I'm not trying to mess with it because I don't really need to do a lot of stuff with it. But I'll scan it in, and I scan it at 600 dpi, which is twice the resolution of what I need for print. So print standards, if you ever try to get something printed, they will ask for an image that is at 300 dpi. That's kind of like the standard high resolution. Basically, that means that the pixel density or the dot density on the page for an image for the ink is high enough so that if you look at it, you just see continuous color. You don't see any pixels or anything. If you got up super, super close, you probably could see it, with a magnifying glass or whatever. But to your eye, it looks okay. It looks fine. As you start to dip below that, if you get down to 150 or lower, you'll start to see the fuzziness and the pixelation. I scan things at 600 dpi. Yeah. I scan things, I might cut the steam out because it's too much going on. I scan things at 600 dpi, which is twice, so that I can actually, so that it'll look nicer, I guess, in the end. And I can always size everything down. And I don't know, that's just kind of like my choice to do that. The files might be a little bit bigger, but it's always ideal to work from a big file and then save it down to whatever you need rather than trying to work backwards. You know, it's a lot better. So I'll scan it in at 600 dpi, and when I scan it, when I scan it in, it actually doesn't really pick up a lot of the orange color that I've used for the pencils, and I learned that from watching a, what would you call him? Oh wait, this is his hand. He just made a graphic novel. His name is Jake Parker. He started Inktober. He does comics. He was in the Flight anthologies that Kazu Kibuishi did back in the early 2000s and mid 2000s, and he's got a lot of stuff out right now. If you see him on Instagram, but he that's how he kind of does it. So I've kind of like followed. It's basically the same thing as using like what they call the non-reproduction pencil, the non-reproduction blue pencil. It's the same idea. You're using a separate color than black, because when you go to scan it, then you can actually, when you scan the line work in, where you get this orange in behind the line work, behind the ink, you can actually select the color, or you can like filter out the color and just leave the black line artwork. So the pencils are in color, inks are in black, so I can, like blast out the color and then just leave the black ink. And that's why I do it like that. So I'm just following what works. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Flowers, flower petals. Ooh. Yeah, I probably won't ink all of this stuff. I like to pencil it just to give myself something to like work from. And then I might even change it. So I might like actually end up inking this stuff, and then if I pull it back in after I've scanned it and I decide I don't like it, I can go in there and basically finish it or tighten it up, tighten the inks up digitally. So you guys have any other questions? Like, why can't I read this word? Okay. There we go. So you guys, well, I'm talking to my parents here, but when we were young, my brothers and I would read Calvin and Hobbes, which is kind of like the classic cartoon comic that everyone remembers from their childhood of the 80s, like me. And I always loved how he did like his sound effects, or he'd have like, these, and everyone does this in comics. It's not like he's the only one who did this, but he did it a lot, where he'd have like the sound effects doing like this crazy kind of stuff. So instead of boom, like kaboom, I'm saying bloom because of the flowers. Bloom. I look frozen. Maybe my computer froze. Did I stop moving? Maybe I'm focusing too intently on what I'm doing or something. I don't know. But yeah, so I like the way Bill Watterson, the guy who did Calvin and Hobbes, I like, how he used to do sound effects. Like the sound effects themselves are jumping off the page or doing something crazy like that. And then, just from reading his books, or when he would do like commentaries on his stuff, you get to see like his inspirations, or his where he got his stuff from. And definitely, I think Charles Schultz is like one of his inspirations. But also, like, there's a cartoonist named George Harriman that did a cartoon strip called Crazy Cat, and that was like a lot of the inspiration for. That was the inspiration when you can't straighten something. Yeah, that was the inspiration for Calvin and Hobbes and some stuff, like for his landscape. When he would draw landscapes and stuff, he got it from Crazy Cat. When he do like crazy. There's times when like Calvin would be pretending that he was in space. And those weird like Martian landscapes. That a lot of that stuff he said came from Crazy Cat strips. So I every year is in May. It's called Free Comic Book Day for May, and I would. Well, last year we went to some comic book stores, but there's one in Dearborn. We live outside of Dearborn in Detroit, Michigan. So there's one in Dearborn, and they have like it's cool. They've got a mix of like new comics, like Batman, Superman, DC, Spider-Man, Marvel stuff, and then they've also got like on the other side of the store they've got a lot of independent and local comic books, and they've also got like graphic novels too. So they got a good selection of stuff, and they had like these collections of Crazy Cat cartoon strips, and so I picked one up and just been reading through it every once in a while, and it's like it's hard to read. Oh yeah, sorry, I'm trying not to concentrate too much. It's hard to read Crazy Cat because like he drew it back in the 19 teens and 1920s or whatever, 19 and what do you call them? 19 aughts. I don't know how you say it for like the early 1900s. But he did it back then, and like he uses a lot of dialect for his characters, and like it's hard to understand like what they're saying, the way that he wrote it. But it's funny. Like some of the characters have like a different accents and stuff. And then it's also like it's the 1920s and stuff, so they've got different phrases they used to say back then. Like the whole. I don't know if anyone's read Crazy Cat, but it's just basically the whole story is there's a cat, there's a mouse, and there is a dog who is he's a police officer, and the cat is in love with the mouse. The mouse is always trying to hit the cat with a brick, and then the officer, the dog, is always trying to arrest the mouse because he catches them throwing a brick all the time. And it's kind of like this weird, like I don't know, they call it like a love triangle or something. It's kind of goofy. That's always the plot. That's like every strip. That's usually what's happening, and there's like different characters and locations. But in one of the strip, they called he had a brick, and then like the mouse referred to it as a Dornick, and I guess that was a term for like a brick or something back then, but I have no idea. So it's cool. Like I like reading that stuff for inspiration, um, as far as like layout and composition and dialect and accent and like how people say things to each other. Uh, so sick, yeah. I mean, I don't know what you're saying sick about, but it's just like kind of the that was the hook of the strip is like that's always what's happening. The mouse is always trying to throw a brick at the cat at Crazy Cat, and then Crazy Cat like always thinks that the mouse is in love with her when he's not. He's just like he doesn't like her. It's kind of goofy. So okay, I think that's probably it for now. Um, yeah, I don't know. I might. His head looks kind of thin here, but I need to go to bed, so I might get going. But I don't know. Did you? Oh, where did you get Guten Tag from? So Guten Tag, really briefly, Guten Tag came from when I was in college, and I transferred my third year of college. I transferred from University of Michigan in Dearborn to Wayne State University in Detroit, and I had to take a math placement test, which I failed at Wayne State, which is kind of, I don't know, I think it's embarrassing, but I went through, when I was in high school, we had at our school, we had a good math program, and I just didn't do any math for like the first 2 years of college, and then I didn't study for this placement test my third year of college when I transferred, and I ended up, they placed me into, I don't know what you'd call it, like a lower level math class. So anyways, in this math class, because I was going for graphic design, so it wasn't even like it was a requirement, but it wasn't part of my major at all. So anyways, in the math class, we'd be going through the lesson, and I'd just be taking notes in my notebook. And at the top of the page, I would just start drawing this comic strip. Yeah, just start. Yeah, I might actually like try to find the notebook and post those scan those pages, the first ones where I started doing it. But I just started drawing this little strip with these two characters, and it was these guys, and they're just making fun of each other, some random stuff. I had a few where there was like they weren't even in it. It was like different characters. It was kind of random, and I just settled on these two guys, and so I did it for a little bit just for fun in my notebook, and then I noticed at Wayne State that they had a student newspaper, and they had a page at the back where they had like I think one comic strip, and I don't know if it said like if you want to put your comic strip here or whatever. Like I don't even know if it said that. I just was like, hey, if this dude is putting his comic strip in here, and I can try putting mine in there, see if he'd take it, and yeah, I'll do that. I'll try to get us that notebook up. I'll try to get a page of that scanned up so you guys can see it. So I ended up like I had maybe a month or so of these strips that I had created for Guten Tag, and I had like the characters kind of established, and I think I had them on Bristol board. Bristol board's like a nice quality paper. But there you go. Nice quality paper, and it's archival. It doesn't yellow. Usually, I'm sure at some point it will yellow, but it doesn't go bad. Anyway, so I went into the newspaper office on campus, and I was just like, hey, like I got this comic strip, like would you think about publishing this? And well, and he's like, oh yeah, sure. And so I just gave him, I think I copied some of the ones that I already did, and I showed it to him. He's like, yeah, just send me an email each week, and then I'll put it in the strip and the paper. So I just did that for about 2 years. I was submitting those to the student newspaper, and sometimes they'd get in there, like sometimes they wouldn't if there was like some weird thing, and I don't know if I missed a deadline, but maybe like he just didn't have space for it. I don't know, but generally I had something to send in, and he put them in there. It always looked bad because it was printed on newsprint, and I didn't know how to like save things for print at that point. So I'd have like dark colors, and it would just look really dark on newsprint, and sometimes it would be like he'd shrink it down to like 2 or 3 inches wide or 4 inches wide, so it didn't really look nice. But yeah, I did that for 2 years, and I did it until December of 2009, and I graduated in April of 2010. So I actually stopped doing it before I graduated, but that last semester was pretty tough, so I had to stop. I had to, focus on graduating. But I did that, and at the same time I was doing that, I think I was also working. That's when I did like a little bit of flatting for Amulet 2 and 3, and that was kind of cool how that came about. So maybe I'll share that next time or whatever. But that's pretty much it. Guten Tag, just really quickly, they're brothers. the guy on the left. So the idea for the strip, I'm just going to tweak some stuff here. Idea for these guys, it's called Guten Tag. It's German for, you know, good afternoon. It's because I went to University of Michigan Dearborn and I took German for 2 years. So that was the background for that, why I thought that'd be kind of funny. And basically the idea was like, you know, do a cartoon strip and then at the end have like a panel that's completely in German. That's just like some gag or some joke, you know, like that was just kind of funny at the time with like, you know, you'd see, you know, like someone say something in German, like it sounds like he's mad or something, you know. So I thought that'd be kind of a funny gag at the end of a strip. Like so I still do that now, you know, like Läufer. Like that would be the funny gag at the end or whatever. And then you wouldn't know what it means. I'd know what it means, and I would find it funny. But then if you actually cared, you might try to look it up, figure it out. But so the characters are Lex, this guy right here on the left, and Rector, and they're brothers. And yeah, they're brothers. They're both in, I guess, college age. And Lex is similar. It sounds similar to the word for left in German, which is links. And then I think, it might be rusty, but the word for right, you know, the right hand or like on the right side is recht. I know, like, I think it's recht. So the name Rector kind of sounds like that. So left and right, Lex and Rector. Yeah, like so Lex is supposed to sound like the German word for links for left. Rector's his name is supposed to sound like the German word, kind of like the German word for right. That's roughly where I got that from. That's why they have that name. So yeah, they're brothers. It's honestly the strip's kind of, it was roughly based on me and my brother, and it's not 100%. So not everything is especially now, not everything is true to life, but some of the early strips were inspired by me, my brother, and me. So, and I'll let you figure out which one was supposed to be whom. So that's kind of it. I guess I'm done for now. Is there anything else you guys want to see? Did you want me to show you how I do the flatting for one of the strips? Briefly? It's kind of late though. I might do another one where I do flatting. But I did. Which brother? If you see my brother, I think you know which ones. No, we're close in age. So with my older brother, I have two brothers, so it's the middle one. But I started off like making it. It's not so much right now. It's kind of, honestly, it's kind of like me and me. So the part of me that gets like really serious about stuff and gets frustrated about things, and the other part of me that like is more, or that I get used to be. I don't know. Used to be more like easygoing and not really thinking things through and just kind of like reacting to stuff rather than planning things out. Which is, so Lex is supposed to be like the easygoing, like not really thinking about things a lot of times, and then Rector is the one who's more like even keel. He gets sarcastic. He's more frustrated at stuff. So yeah, there we go. Okay, well that's it. I'm done with pencils. And at this point, what I would do is, if I was going to print these, I would just hit print, and then I'll print one half of the page, and then I'll come over here, and then I will print the other half of the page, print it out, and then I will go ink it by hand. That's it. Yeah, that's kind of what it is now. I mean, I don't I'm not trying to. Oops, I don't need to save that. So, all right. Thanks for hopping in, guys. For being the guinea pigs on this first run. And I don't know, I'll try to archive this if I can chop things up and edit out parts where it was like boring or I'm just like picking my nose or whatever. I'll edit that out. So, all right, we'll see you guys.